Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, this is the Rocker Life, and today I got a very fun episode lined up for you. Very excited to have with me Mr. Brad Napier from Classic Vault, a new site up and coming, going to be launching very, very soon, and he's going to be bringing to us lots of action regarding album reviews, and we're going to find out more from him about that. So good morning, Mr. Napier. Thank you for taking time out of your day to link up with me here and talk some rock and roll, specifically a review of Alice Cooper's new release, Detroit Stories. And I can't wait to get into this because, man, I have had it in rotation since 7 a.m. of release day. So I think it's going to serve us all well. It's worth getting up early for. I'll put it that way. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and have this conversation. As you said, I am from a newly launched website blog / review portal called the Classic Vault, where we connect you with classic albums, old and new. And what that means is, we talk about not just new music, but old music that people may have missed along the way that's worth a listen. And yeah, Detroit Stories. Wow, what a record! Spun us 2 times yesterday. Couldn't really get enough, and I'm excited to go through the track by track with you and talk about the standouts. And they're pretty much all stand on their own.
I think you're 100% right, man. I know you and I have talked off air about our expectations as we set this up for today. Sure. Our expectations, what we were looking forward to, and so I just want to set the stage quickly. And of course, we've got another record produced by Bob Ezrin. In doing some research to set up for today, it looks like Bob Ezrin also had some hands-on as far as a few instruments too, but I'll let you address that when we get into that part of the rundown. But so released Friday, February 26th of this year. And, I gotta say, as far as just setting the stage for this thing and going mentally back through the last few releases. And I think Breadcrumbs laid a very good foundation to sort of steer and pivot Alice's material toward what we've got in our hands here.
Now, and even some of the tracks even from Breadcrumbs show up here. And you're right, he kind of, I wasn't sure about that when it first came out. To be honest with you, I wasn't sure I was going to like, and I'm almost fair to say I want to kind of set the stage here. I'm a gigantic Alice Cooper fanatic, and
sure,
I tend to look through. I tend to look at things a little bit deeper than maybe most people do. And I'm probably, with that being said, I'm probably just a little bit more critical, but, Breadcrumbs, I wasn't sure if I was going to buy into that concept, but, after hearing Detroit Stories as a whole, man, it was, it was fully realized. It's really sharp. It's really sharp. It sounds, heck, let's just go ahead and get right into it. I mean, it sounds to me, if this is the last thing he did, he's going out on a high note.
Oh man. Yeah.
I felt like we had all periods of Alice Cooper in that record.
Yeah.
There's the 70s, man. You feel the 70s almost solo material a lot, but then you get and I'll go over it in a little bit of detail when we get through the tracks, but there's even a glimpse or two of some of his 80s, what I called his snide personality, like when he came back with Trash and things like that. There's almost some of that in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, my thoughts just getting through this and letting it sink in, absorbing it, kind of going through the osmosis process was just, man, this feels so good. The feel of the album makes me feel good. It makes me feel like Alice records have tended to do in the past. And it feels great to have some anthemic Alice songs again. I think that looking back over the past few releases and the ones that come to mind, Paranoid Personality, I'll Bite Your Face Off, so that was great. Of the more recent, those were fun. They were very, very rock and roll and they really gave you something to get your teeth in and sing along to, and those some of those. But I got to say, for me, I keep going back to this last, I'm going to say 15 years, and looking at the body of work since Dirty Diamonds, and I want to listen a few more times, but this really, to me, feels like the closest return to form to that particular period in time, that 2005 sort of era.
Yeah.
To me, and I'm excited about that. And I don't intend to say that we've had no, and Alice anthems like I mentioned. I named a couple, but I'm really overjoyed and very satisfied with the finished result and what we've got in our hands. And it far exceeded my expectations. I'll leave it at that.
Well, same here. And I'll tell you, when I first turned it on, there's a couple covers on the record. When I first turned it on, the record opens up with Rock and Roll, the old Velvet Underground song. And if you hear the original, like with Lou Reed, it's Velvet Underground. It's stripped down. It's basic, but it's cool. The Runaways did it. They made it great. But when he did it, like, that's the best cover of that song I've ever heard. Honestly, I think it's probably the song, the cover. Nobody will ever do it any better than this one on this record. I don't know who played guitar on that record, because there's a ton of people on this album. I'm trying to look and see. I believe it's somebody named, I cannot pronounce the name, Garrett Belenick. But my goodness gracious, man. One of the best guitar solos I've ever heard in my life. Great, yeah. I mean, it's really cool. It felt like, I don't know, man, it just felt very well done. And it sets the stage really good for the record. What do you think of some of the other tracks? What were some standouts for you? That's probably my favorite.
So yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look at the track list. So opening up the album, we've got Rock and Roll, Go Man Go, Our Love Will Change the World, Social Debris, which I believe was the first single released from Detroit Stories, $1,000 High Heel Shoes, Hail Mary, Detroit City 2021, Drunken in Love, Independence Dave, I Hate You, Wonderful World, Sister Ann, Hanging On by a Thread. Correct me on something if I was wrong. Was it Our Love Will Change the World, or was it Social Debris, opening single?
There were a couple different things that were brought out first. Hanging On by a Thread actually came out.
That's right, because it's got that COVID thing about people struggling through. Yeah,
and then it was Our Love Will Change the World, I believe, and Social Debris.
Okay, so thanks for
that's what brought us up to this point. Yeah.
Well, thanks for correcting me on that, because it's that byproduct of the way things are released today. Our attention spans have been adjusted so much that it's like there's that new single coupled with either a visualizer or a lyric video, then a real video, and they're moving so fast that it can be, even for avid rock fans, if you've got any kind of a work schedule, or like this, putting together a show, it's so hard. It can be so hard to keep up,
Right. Definitely miss things.
Well, but with that said, to answer your question that you asked me, how about some standout tracks? I got to tell you, I do love the cover of Rock and Roll. You mentioned some other artists that have done it. I have heard some of those. Don't know that I've heard all of them, but I will tell you that to me, this cover really made it its own. I didn't. It's one of those covers that was very independent in the way it was approached, but it became very much its own skin. You know what I mean? It's like shed skin off the original, and it became a sort of a new creature, to put it in.
It did, man. It was it just kind of had that. It had that feel, that Alice Cooper feel. It really reminded me of how he did things, and this wouldn't have been out of place on Go to Hell or something like that. Yeah. It kind of felt like that. And whoever played guitar on it was incredible. Adding in just some some real nice color, like on the way they played the guitar parts. Like the guitar solo is incredible. Just some of the little fills and trills that the guitar player plays in between verses is really cool. It's stuff I've never heard in there before. He's always surrounded himself with incredible musicians, and he certainly did so. This go around. But yeah, for me, we went through it. But like, I'll tell you, I got some notes here. Rock and roll, of course, we've talked about that. Our love will change the world. I really did not want to like this song. I didn't. I'm of very nature. I'm not usually into like, oh, ha, 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 like real overly positive. I'm not a negative person, but I don't like.
Yeah.
I like my rock to have a little bit of an edge to it and tell a story. But man, that song is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a modern classic in my opinion. The social commentary in it is relevant.
Yeah.
And I'll be darned if it couldn't be on a Beatles record, and you can totally
Absolutely,
tell the influence there came through wide open. That song's amazing.
I mean, this song is great. It's like you said, it's relevant. It fits the times, but it's also just in and of itself a really good piece of work. And I think that looking over the next couple, of course, Social Debris, I think made an excellent single.
Hey, can I interject something real quick before I forget?
Yeah.
Hold your thought. That Alice was, so the Alice Cooper character, right? Not Vince Bernier, but Alice Cooper character has always been this person that Vince transforms into, right? We all know what that ritual is like. We've read the book.
Yeah.
Watching the Kung Fu movies and being by himself and all that stuff. And then he emerges
throwing knives, yeah.
Yeah, throwing knives and all that stuff. So, how cool is it? Alice has always been edgy, always tackled themes and visuals and imagery that maybe didn't fit so well with the conservative audiences of the 70s and 80s. How cool is it that he's flipped the script and now he's talking about positivity and having this commentary on how things are slowly eroding like our way of life? I think that's really cool. I think that's Alice Cooper being Alice Cooper and doing the complete opposite of what people expect of him, and it's still rebellious. So I just wanted to point that out. No,
it's a really good point. Really good point. So I like all those points you made about Our Love Will Change the World. I missed one thing on Go Man Go. I just want to say real quick. I loved the rawness of that, and I loved what because we were just talking about Our Love will change the world. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about Our Love Will Change the World, and that song has a very strong Britpop, like 60s Britpop feel to it, with great production to fit Alice. On Go Man Go, I want to say that because I forgot to say it earlier. I love the rawness of it. I like that when I hear that, it's definitely reminiscent of what I think of for Detroit, late 60s, early 70s, with just the right amount of saturation and aggressiveness to it. And I just really dig that element of it. It's a good song in and of itself. Those were just a couple of things that stood out. And I want to point out too, just as a bass player and looking at the bass, man, the bass on this album, oh my gosh, it's just incredible. Like it's just in the pocket, playing in the open spaces. But aside from all that, the tone of it, man, it's just dirty enough, but it's just groovy enough. It's like someone took, that Motown tone and just kind of drove it up like a little bit or something. It's just, I don't know if you picked that up or not, but I noticed that for myself.
I did. I listened to the whole album. I made notes on everything. And what I have written down here, I have a conflicting opinion to yours, and I respect your assessments of Go Man Go. However, I kind of rank it a little lower. I'm not going to say that the track annoys me, but it almost sounds something like something that you would have found on the second part of Welcome to My Nightmare. Just I'm not saying it doesn't fit the collection of songs. You're right. It does kind of have that old style feel to it. But I don't know, man. Does not get me moving for whatever reason. Maybe it will with repeated listening.
Well, yeah, that's okay, man. I welcome. I mean, it goes back to hey, if we all loved all the same tracks from all the same albums, it would be we wouldn't have a lot to be talking about.
Social Debris. You brought that up earlier. I'm pretty sure, I don't know this to be true. I didn't do a whole lot of research on the personnel, but Social Debris feels like the old man. I know on most of his records, in the last several years, he does a couple tracks with the remaining members of the Alice Cooper band. And you can tell right out of the gate that Dennis Dunaway, you talking about bass a second ago, you can tell that Tim and Michael Bruce, who I'm a giant fan of, for those of you who don't know, most of you don't know because I'm new to this. I'm a guitar player as well. Michael Bruce, Glenn Weston, I looked up to those guys. I always liked the way they played riffs, arrangements. As you can tell on Social Debris, that's one of the ones that feels like old Alice Cooper band. And boy, what do you think about the social commentary in that song? I mean, he's basically telling us that we, in my opinion, my assessment is that we need to move away from the distractions and the things that are eating us from the inside out.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I perceived it too. And I mean, I think it was really cool to, the best way I could liken it, or the best analogy I could use, was Paul Stanley, and I don't know how long it's been now, but it was probably in his last book or something like that, was talking about how, he doesn't view the Star Child character anymore as a separate, a separate entity or something. He views it almost as like, as talking with an old friend, or it being just an extension of him,
Yeah.
And I think that with Alice, I think that this may be, well, at least that Alice has a huge body of work, so it's very easy to forget bits and pieces here and there. I'll give that disclaimer, but with me, I think that we're seeing Vince Fournier, the person, like you said, who becomes Alice, this character. And I think that we're seeing some of those really very important points within social commentary or social settings that he feels compelled to put out there message wise. And I think we're seeing some of that come out through Alice, which I think is pretty fascinating, because it's already a complex character. So
it's cool.
It's
he
pretty
almost
neat.
tells it from an objective point of view. I don't feel like he's like preaching or being preachy about it. Like he's telling it from an objective point of view, and it makes you stop and think for a minute. But the standout track here, and I'm sure the people that listen to this, they'll probably think I'm insane, but boy, oh boy, that $1,000 high heel shoes to talk about.
It's great,
Motown
man.
feel, like that Detroit feel. That song is amazing.
It's got that.
Got those horns in it, and I'll tell you what, that's the one song that I could cut out of this collection and go back and paste it into an Alice solo record. And I was thinking that something like that, like an old Alice 70s solo record, something like that would have like popped up on Lace and Whiskey and fit just right in there.
Yeah,
it's so cool, man. It's so cool, and like his wordplay is so good. The way he uses words. Boy, that's a home run for me.
Yeah, I love that song. That was one, and for a lot of the reasons you said, so I won't say too much about it, but it's got that swing to it, man. You were talking about what you mentioned, or maybe said earlier, one didn't necessarily make you want to move or something like that. That one made me want to move. $1,000 high heel shoes made me want to move. Hail Mary.
I feel like you could put that on at a wedding and get people out of their chair like a wedding.
Yeah. You'd have the you'd have the groom sweating, but
people with their ties undone out there boogieing,
But I mean, you'd have the groom sweating, thinking about having to buy $1,000. Some $1,000 pumps. But anyways, So Hail Mary, another great tune. I really enjoyed that one.
That was actually my wife's favorite song on the album. She's actually a big Alice Cooper fan.
Yeah, you told me that.
She loved it. Yeah, she loved it. What do you think of Detroit City 2021? That actually was a song off of the Eyes of Alice Cooper, which was an incredible record.
Yep.
Not one that gets talked about a whole lot for whatever reason. We could unpack that one of these days. But
yeah, for sure, you definitely could. I'll tell you what I thought. Because when Eyes of Alice Cooper came out, I remember very vividly where I was, how old I was going to buy it, listening to it, and that song did not grab me. And this time around, it grabbed
me
me.
either. I know. That's what I thought was funny.
It grabbed me. It really did. And I think I'm guessing here, and I got to listen some more, but it really grabbed me because I feel like it has, I think it's a vibe thing. I think it's the vibe of the song in the collection of songs that make up the Detroit stories. I really feel like it just, the hook, hooks in it.
I like all the name drops, like, you know, Iggy Pop, you know, David Bowie when he called, you know, Ziggy Stardust, and,
Ted
Nugent,
and Seeger, and just all that.
He even talked about. He mentioned. He talked about Eminem too.
Yeah,
called him shady.
Yeah, he mentioned Seeger in there, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I'm thinking through the lyrics. I can remember. Like I said it's real new, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a fun listen. I don't know like what all the references are. I don't think I kept kind of hoping that like the Jack White reference would pop in there, because that's kind of where they got their start. But I don't know if it did or not.
Well,
Drunken in Love, boy oh boy. I don't, whenever you first hear this, you almost feel like. I was really shocked that he said a swear word. The opening track talks about pissing his pants or something like that.
Yeah.
And when my wife and I were listening to the teaser YouTube thing that you sent us in advance of this to listen to, we got to that, and both of us did he just say that? And, because he doesn't really play like that Live at Montreux compilation. Like if you watch the video, go to Hell's on the video, it's not on the record. I don't know why.
I don't know either. Changes some of the words around. Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of maybe thought like, well, he didn't really want to put that out there in the world for everybody to consume, but it's on the video, so I mean,
and also Be My Lover too. Even there's some subtle changes in there, things that kind of fit where he as a man where he's at in life, and I think that's one of the cool things about Alice is people have forgotten that in this day and age there's nothing more rock and roll than to have opinions or stances that may not be commonplace and to
stand up for what you believe in.
and to never break those. Like there's not much more rebellious or rock and roll than that. So I'm all about that. I've always liked that about what he's doing.
This Drunken, you're right, man. I agree. I'm sorry to mean to cut you off there, but this Drunken in Love, it almost feels like about, and I mean, I don't mean this as a criticism or anything bad, because I think the song's incredible. It's a killer blues tune, but if they could have got Billy Gibbons to play the riff, because the riff's cool, and it's kind of got that like just that real dirty groove to it, like you would hear in like a slower, newer ZZ Top. Another great band. If you guys listening don't know anything about them, check them out. But it's kind of got that groove to it, and killer lyrics, man. It's just good. I think he talks about. I guess this is from the perspective of I'll use the proper nomenclature here of a homeless person or someone that's living on the streets. He says he walks out of his cardboard box, and I guess it's when he talks about pissing his pants. I guess he sees some girl and he's all like with her, all this stuff, and it's pretty cool. And then it fires off into Independence Dave. I don't know what you think about that one. I've got
that was one. Independence Dave was one I was a little indifferent on. I was trying to, because actually it was when I'm trying to be objective about the album and looking at the album for what it is, that was one. It was hard to find songs that I was indifferent about. I really liked the collection of songs pretty well. I mean, it's that was one I was a little bit indifferent on, but at the same time, it's also something that could grow on me as well. So,
I don't know what he's trying to say there. I listened to that one 2 or 3 times. Well, actually, a little bit more than that, and I like it. I've got it written down here. That welcome to my part 2. Like I always file everything that he does that doesn't make sense to me under that heading, because that album was not one of the finer moments in my personal opinion.
Agreed.
But then he goes into the I Hate You, and I feel like I don't know what you thought, but you can hear his voice in there, but you hear the voice of other people, and I almost feel like it's a collection of commentary about the Alice character. People saying back to him.
I hadn't
it's
considered
talking about his facial features, his spider eyes, all these things. You know how back in the day he used to around blood with the death beard. He used to have like the spidery looking swigglies on his eyes. So I almost feel like that. It's just a collection of people talking about it, and then he comes back and. It's kind of a call and response thing. He kind of comes back and says, well, I hate you, so it doesn't matter what you think. I don't know if that's the case, but that's sort of what I took out of it. What about Wonderful World?
Yeah, I like the song. And that is one that I've got to give a few more listens to, but I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. And, that goes as well for, Sister Ann, especially Shut Up and Rock. And then in the middle there, we've got Hanging On by a Thread, which we've already talked about a bit. That I think is cool because to do a really good song, to make the narrative of the song about the times we're in, and to also be willing to do something that, I think is very awesome, which is, being someone who, suicide has touched my family, and to put a message in there for someone who may be listening, I think is just a very cool thing to do. You know what I mean? It is
cool, man. He's basically just saying, he's identifying everybody. And that's the thing, you see these posts, these inspirational posts that say, be kind because you never know what someone's going through. That's really true.
Yeah. And also like the line in there, the one line that I remember right offhand and thinking about it is when he's talking about things being tough. Just remember, you've got 7 billion brothers and sisters who are going through the same things you're going through, and you're not alone, basically. And I think that, with my experience in that, the message he's trying to get across there, especially with the disclaimer at the end of the song and given the number for the suicide hotline, I think that, that's a message I wish I could go back in time and relay to someone who was very special to me. So I'm all about that. I think it's very cool premise, very cool song. Just to be able to do all those things we just talked about with that song and do it well is not easy without one part of it suffering in some form. I've never seen a lot of artists be able to do that. For him to be able to pull it off, I think it's very cool. Given the times in this collection of songs. No, given the times in this collection of songs, it's very cool. He could pull that off.
So yeah, I'm hanging by a thread. I had written down, I feel I wrote these words: the Alice character comes full circle here. Completely full circle from where it began to now. You kind of touched on how he's speaking to, like, he's bringing, like, he's telling people there's light at the end of the tunnel through all the darkness. And I wrote here, my last bullet point was it promotes light.
Yeah.
I think that's a killer message in this day and age. So back to Sister Ann, MC5 cover, Wayne Kramer from the MC5 plays on this record.
Yep.
And part of my shameless plug here for Classic Vault. So to connect your listeners with some old records that are classic, if you go out and find any MC5 best of compilation or any other LPs, listen to those. High energy, just kick down the door, rock and roll. It's incredible stuff. And also the Stooges. That Detroit music does all kinds of sound. It has a distinct sound. I mean, yes, it's very individualized. Ted Nugent doesn't sound like, Iggy and the Stooges, but it brings up something I really want everybody to go do. I would highly appreciate if everyone went out and picked up, go pick up those first 3 Stooges records. Listen to them on your streaming platform, whatever you do, YouTube, and then come back and listen to this record again, and you'll get some amazing context on where some of these sounds are coming from.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've got, Shut Up and Rock. I don't know. I said great lyrics. I had it written up. That's the one that felt like 80s Cooper to me.
Yeah, it did. I got that vibe too. I still liked it. I did think that if there was any one thing I would have changed about it, which wouldn't have been much, they might have erred on the side of 70s production versus that, and I picked that up as well. But
Cool song, great lyrics, man. The opening groove of that is really cool.
Yeah.
That's a driving song. But I guess the last thing here is that Bob Seeger cover, and I read an article last night in preparation for this. Whenever Alice was telling, he told Bob Seeger he was going to cover this, her cover a song. Bob Seeger's like, "You're covering that song?" Because I don't think they were saying that Eastside Story's never really been on the radio. I'd honestly never heard it before.
Yeah, I had. It was new to me too. Yeah.
Oh my God, man, it's so good.
Yeah.
And like I told you yesterday, I think it was Iggy Pop. I've got this DVD collection called Escaped Maniacs, when the Stooges got back together, and I think is on one of the interviews in that collection. He says that Bob Seger had the best greaser band that he'd ever heard back in the '60s, and that he was just a force to be reckoned with. And you and I were talking yesterday about how neither one of us are too well versed. I remember my mom used to have some best of compilations when I was growing up that she would play. And I mean, I know the hits, on Main Street and all that stuff, Fire Down Below.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All that stuff, but like getting into the deep cuts, well, I'm gonna have to check that stuff out because this Eastside Story is amazing. Very, very good. Well, the overall assessment. Your overall assessment of, I'll tell you what mine is. Mine's
you
pick it up.
Go first.
Yeah, overall assessment, recurring themes, social issues, society stresses. It's good escapism. Still good escapism because it's Alice Cooper, and you can't not listen to Alice Cooper and not have some thoughts that aren't realistic. It's like I said, it's just pure escapism. But it's relevant cultural references combined with old songs, and I think it's kind of, like I said, if this is the last thing he does, it's one hell of a love letter to his fans.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very well put. My take is basically, this would be, I was excited to review this album because to me, this is, as we would put it at the Rocker Live, this would be a very clear, to me, 4 fist pumps out of 5. I mean, it's just it's a great album. It's a great Alice Cooper album. I think that for me, I'll make the point that for looking over a 15-year body of work and looking at the age he was when he started that period at around 2005 with Dirty Diamonds, and then coming till now, look how much, he's aged, how active he's been. His live shows, it would be arguable are the best they've ever been. And he's basically done a live album on every cycle. And then you couple that with, I was at one of the live album recordings in Columbus.
Columbus.
Yeah. You told me about that.
16, yeah.
Yeah. So just coupling up all those things and really like just to look at the quality of the sum of the parts. If I'm to look at the sum of the parts for this album compared to every album since Dirty Diamonds, in my opinion, this is the highlight. And I agree 100%. If he didn't do anything else, what a way to go out on top at his age. I mean, and then also, if it were me now, and granted, he's not going to think like I think, and no one's going to think like he thinks. We all think differently about our projects and careers and that stuff. But if it's me, and once I get a few minutes to step back, be objective, listen through to this thing, and then ask myself, because Alice and everyone else, whoever it is, their intention is always to top the previous out. Like you always want to make one better, right? I think, right. And so I think I would be asking myself, man, what does that look like? What does it look like to? And now I'm not saying he can't, because I believe if anyone could, he could. I believe if Cheap Trick wanted to do that, they can. All these bands that we've grown up loving and having respect for want to do that, I believe it's always in them. It's just a matter of, it's no different probably than coaching a football team. It's probably lining up all the, getting your roster in place and putting all the right people in the right positions. But I believe he could do it, and I believe that's probably something that he'll take a look at, because it would be hard to deny the strength of the sum of the parts.
I would totally agree. For your listeners, or anybody that might wonder if this is the first thing you've ever heard, go back and listen to Paranormal, the album.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Paranormal's a good album.
Yeah, it's got a lot of these same elements, but I think that this go around with this one, he definitely hit a home run. I appreciate you having me on, let me talk about this.
Of course, man. I think it's great what you're doing, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I would let you have. I just want to say I think it's great what you're doing, and I think it's important that we start getting reviews back out there in the rock and roll stratosphere, so to speak, because it just seems that, and we are in a single driven market in terms of music these days, but still plenty of artists doing EPs and LPs, and it doesn't mean that you can't review singles as well. And I think you have in the platform you're building, I think you've got the opportunity to cover all those things, and I can see just in the things you've shown me how well read you are, how knowledgeable you are, and also how good you are at communicating those things much better than I could in the written context of a review. So I'm looking forward to what you've got to show everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, just a quick plug for the vault. Basically, what we will do, or are doing. And there is no way. It's just me. What I am doing is, I will pull single tracks out. There's 5 things out right now on the site. And, 2 of them actually just focus on a couple songs.
Okay.
I want people to go out and at least try a couple songs and decide if you like the project. But I'm going to do everything. I mean, we cover.
Yeah, great.
Well, let me just tell you why. I really don't have a lot of aspirations to pick up extra work. That made, because I'm a family person and all these things. This one was something I couldn't really get away from. When I read some reviews here a while back, and I thought, my gosh, everything that I read about new music, and for you pre-internet folk out there, that's how we used to find albums to listen to. We'd read Spin Magazine and Rolling Stone and Metal Edge, Metal Hammer, and all that stuff.
back in the dial-up era, we were still doing that, weren't we?
and those reviews used to be really good back then, but now it's like reviews, like people have to go a way to tear something up and put all these references on things and all these limitations, and you don't even want to check anything out, or then you do go and check it out and you're like, well, that person's crazy because this is actually really good. Why they dog it so bad? So my whole goal is I'm going to bring everybody reviews from my point of view that connect with emotions, other media, things that may spark some additional interest, like video content, imagery. And then, I'm going to just get out of being pretentious. People to take themselves too seriously.
Yeah. Strip the ego back, man. That is, you're right. That is so off-putting.
It is. So you can find me at theclassicvault.com. You can find me on Facebook at The Classic Vault USA. You can find me on Instagram at The Classic Vault. And you can find me on Twitter at The Classic Vault, VAUL, and the number 1. Got some cool artwork up there that I had somebody make. Got a really neat wizard, druid-looking guy on the flying V standing in front of a bunch of ants. So,
well, we love good artwork. We love wizards, and we love flying V's. So you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with those elements. You got all the fundamental things in place, right?
Absolutely. There's reviews up now. I welcome everybody to comment, share. Heck, if you've got something that you want to say, send it over.
I'll do it.
I'll take a look and may even post it.
I'll do it. And for Rocker Nation, be sure to take those socials that Brad Napier from Classic Vault just gave you. Go find him on social media, hook up, and we're going to have, another teammate for rock and roll out there doing things in a fun and objective way, but in a in a respectful way. And just, I love what you said about stripping away the pessimism and trying to tear others down, and I think both of you can look at it, from the angle of, we don't need to, tear others down because no matter who the artist is, this is something I always come back to. That's always upset me about the type of, you were mentioning the types of reviews that you might see more often nowadays. Mm-hmm. To see a review that just tears someone to shreds and is so pretentious, I believe was one of the words you used, mm-hmm. from the vantage point of the writer, but also just from in general, just talking about the work and the product. And it is so much work to put those projects together. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's labor intensive, it's mentally intensive and musically intensive. It's a lot of work. People don't realize sometimes. And to just take someone's work and shred it, you wouldn't walk into an art gallery, grab a piece off the wall that you thought was just average or or slightly below average. You wouldn't just grab it off the wall and go stick it in the shredder, and you don't want to do that with music either. So I think what you said is very cool. And I think that's a cool model to abide by. I'm looking forward to reading more as you cover classic albums, old and new. And let me just ask your opinion just to close things out here. Are we looking at a new classic here with Detroit Stories?
Well, certainly. And one of the things I always ask, of anybody that's read anything so far is what makes it classic. And I cover that in not in great detail, but let everybody know what my opinion is. So here, what makes this one classic? It like I said before, the beginning of the conversation, he's flipped the script. He's coming from a different vantage point, and people probably wouldn't expect, with the positivity and all of those things, and that's cool. But what's any better than that? He does the unexpected here. He explores some really cool sounds, and man, you know what? He always surrounds himself with the best musicians.
Yeah, that's no doubt about that.
That just coupled with he's just built probably one of the best brands outside of Kiss, in my opinion, in music.
Yeah.
He's iconic, and that's what makes it classic.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm crossing my fingers, crossing myself, saying a prayer, hoping that we're going to get the opportunity that we can see this thing brought to the stage, because
yes.
I think it would make another excellent production from Team Alice. And I know you, just the same as me, would love to see Tommy Hendrickson and Ryan Roxy and Nita and Chuck up there just shred, and Glenn just shredding on this.
Don't forget Glenn.
Yeah, I almost did. I was trying to make my way. I only had one of these cups of rocket fuel in front of me. But yeah, and I wouldn't forget Glenn. He's too awesome. But it would be great to hear them just lighten up these songs, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure you are too.
I said thank you, Aaron.
Hey, thank you, brother. Thank you for coming on. Everybody go check out the Classic Vault. Take the socials of Brad Napier just gave you. Go out, find the Classic Vault, follow him. I look forward to doing a lot more with you, man. Looking forward to reading these reviews and looking forward to having you back on as soon as possible. You can update us on the growth of the platform and the launching of the platform. And we will leave it there, my friend.